welcome to SGPN's The Daily Dog. I'm your host, Britton Hess, and I'm here with my three favorite Underdog fantasy plays for Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. If you're new to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code DAILYDOG for an up to $250 deposit match bonus on the Underdog Fantasy app or on UnderdogFantasy.com. So let's look at yesterday's slip. It went 2 out of 3. It was kind of frustrating. The pick that didn't hit was Cristiano Ronaldo to have higher than half of a goal or an assist in Portugal's game versus Czechia in Euro 24. Unfortunately, Portugal didn't break the seal in time in that game. They didn't get on the board until 70-something minutes into that match. Cristiano Ronaldo was still a factor on the offense. He was 22 out of 22 on his passes in that game. There was definitely opportunities for assists. There was definitely opportunities for him to shoot and get headers. He had a free kick. So he's still a major factor in the offense of this team despite being near 40 years old. I don't hate the play. Even looking back, it lost. But again, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, I should have known that Ronaldo wasn't going to convert despite having opportunities and despite dishing balls to his teammates which they could have converted. So it is what it is. That's soccer. It's time to move on to the next day. Our picks that did hit, though, was higher than half of a run allowed in the first inning between Walker Buehler and Austin Gomber of the Dodgers and the Rockies. Gomber actually got out of the top of the first inning versus the Dodgers lineup without surrendering one, but I did indicate on yesterday's show that Walker Buehler has been shaky in his last few starts. His comeback tour in 2024 has not been great, and I also pointed out that, despite not allowing runs in his last several starts in the first inning, he had a lot of indicators that were saying that he was getting maybe a little bit more lucky than good. And the Rockies put up 4 runs in the bottom of the first inning against him. It was kind of a foregone conclusion from the get-go. I mean, Charlie Blackmon came out there, singled, and then I think it was Brenton Doyle was batting second. He got a single, and Blackmon got to third, and then Ezekiel Tovar hit a double, and whatever. It was not a great day for Buehler. So hopefully you guys were able to attack him in a multitude of ways. I think he allowed 7 runs in 4 innings in that game. So he was not having a good showing in Coors Field. We did have lower than half of a run allowed between Chris Bassett and Tanner Houck in the Blue Jays versus Red Sox game. That one was pretty easy, I will say. I mean, the toughest part was probably when Tanner Houck allowed a leadoff double to Spencer Horwitz in the bottom of the first inning, but he was able to navigate his way out of that and get out of the inning without allowing a run. So hopefully something that I said on yesterday's show was useful for your pick'em slips, for your betting, for your fantasy team, whatever you're using this information for. But that's enough about yesterday. Let's move on to Wednesday and try to make some money. So we're going to be starting out with the day game at Wrigley Field again. Kyle Hendricks is getting the start for the Cubs after being relegated to the bullpen after his first 7 starts of the year, which were disastrous. His ERA on the season is still up at 8.2, I believe, but there's there's enough reason to say that he has kind of turned a corner in the last few stints he's had in the bullpen. He hasn't allowed a run in his last 3 appearances. He's gotten hit in those 3 appearances. The opposing batters have been averaging less than a hit per inning he has pitched. So, he's kind of turned a corner, and there's a guy on the Giants that I'm targeting to not succeed against Kyle Hendricks, and that is Wilmer Flores. Just for his career against Kyle Hendricks, Wilmer Flores is 3 of 21 at the plate. That spans literally a decade. The first time they matched up was 2014, so it's not that's not necessarily the most relevant at-bat to this handicap, but I'm saying there's some familiarity, and it's literally spanned a decade, and Kyle Hendricks has won this matchup for the most part. Additionally, Wilmer Flores is batting .217 on the year. He's even worse against righties. He hasn't gone higher than 1.5 total bases very consistently. He's only done it in 3 of his last 10 games. And this just in general, this Giants team struggles against righties. And like I said, Wilmer Flores has a history of struggling in this exact matchup. Last year they did face off once. Flores did go 1 for 3 with a double, but that was the first double he hit versus Hendricks in 20 at-bats at that point. So I'm not really going to bank on that succeeding again, just because, again, Wilmer Flores is having a very down year. Kyle Hendricks has turned a corner. So hopefully, at least for the amount of time that Hendricks is in this game, Wilmer Flores is blanked. And then whoever comes in off the pen, they just need to, walk him, do whatever you can. Just do not let Wilmer Flores hit a double, triple, or a home run in this game. Or if he has a single, you got to keep him off the board again. I usually try to root for guys to go over 1.5 total bases or over half of a hit because it's more fun to be cheering for something. But I've watched enough Giants this year to know that Wilmer Flores is not seeing it well. So let's go Wilmer Flores, lower the 1.5 total bases against the Cubs at 11:20 a.m. Pacific at Wrigley Field. That is 1:20 p.m. Central Time, local time for that game. Next, we're going to a West Coast game. We're going to be looking at Tyler Anderson to have lower than 5.5 hits allowed versus the Brewers. The Brewers are actually a pretty good hitting team versus righties versus lefties. They're bottom third of the league in basically every important category. Tyler Anderson doesn't get much love because he's not a really flashy pitcher. He doesn't get a ton of strikeouts. He's not throwing at 101 miles per hour, but he does get outs. I mean, he's like the definition of an inning eater. You know what I mean? You look up and he's thrown 5 pitches and it's the end of the inning. So he lets guys make contact, but it's not good contact. So we're going to be holding our breath a lot when we see these Brewers swing. But Tyler Anderson does have a good history versus the big guns on this Brewers roster. Christian Yelich is 3 of 14. William Contreras is 0 for 3. Willie Adames is 1 for 5. Rhys Hoskins is 1 for 7. So again, I think that there's enough here that to indicate that these guys do not see Tyler Anderson's lefty throw that well. And also, Tyler Anderson has 14 starts on the year. He's only allowed higher than 5.5 hits 4 times. That was twice to his divisional foe, the Astros, also to the Pirates, and the last one was to the Royals. All 3 of those teams are substantially better versus lefties than the Brewers. I think that this should be a flat 5. I'm actually surprised that it wasn't a flat 5, so this is why I was rushing to put it in my slip for the day. Tyler Anderson, lower than 5.5 hits allowed against the Brewers. Lastly, we're going to Bobby Witt, higher than 1.5 total bases against the Athletics. The A's beat the Royals on Tuesday, which was a surprise to most because nobody really expects the A's to win any games. But they did. They got the job done, and Bobby Witt was 0 for 5. I'm not really a big do theory guy, but Bobby Witt has been pretty good in situations after going hitless in a game. He's gone hitless in back-to-back games only twice on the season. The last time was over a month ago. He's gone hitless in 16 games on this season, and in 12 of those, or following 12 of those games where he didn't get a hit, he had at least 1.5 total bases. So after going hitless, the next game, he's gone higher than 1.5 total bases 12 out of 16 times. That's 75%. Doesn't mean it's a guarantee to happen here, but Bobby Witt's a young, fiery, competitive player. I think that he wants to make up for a poor performance. And the guy on the bump for the Athletics is Luis Medina, who is not that great. He's only making his 4th start of the year. His first start when he came back actually looked pretty good, but his last 2 it has gone downhill quick. He's allowed 4 doubles and a home run in these 3 starts. I don't think he's gone over 5 innings more than once in these 3 starts. So he's been getting hit early and often. And again, I just think Bobby Witt is such a good player that having his total base number at a flat 1.5 with no reduced multiplier versus a pitcher like Luis Medina in a bullpen like the Athletics bullpen is kind of insane. I mean, I'd expect a flat multiplier against, a really good pitcher, a top pitcher, but that's not Luis Medina. I really expected this to be like a 0.85, 0.9x multiplier for Bobby Witt, just the way that he runs, the way that he hits. He's obviously a 5, 10, 27 tool player. He's got speed, he can throw, he's got power, he's got good base running. So I think that there is a lot of stuff to like here with Bobby Witt in this matchup. So if we take this Bobby Witt higher than 1.5 total bases, pair it with Tyler Anderson lower than 5.5 hits allowed, and then add the third pick, which is for our guy Wilmer Flores to have lower than 1.5 total bases in this Giants versus Cubs game, you get a 4.32x multiplier. So let's get this one home. Let's get back on the winning path, and let's get the streak going once again. Again, the 3 picks are Tyler Anderson, lower than 5.5 hits allowed. Wilmer Flores lower than 1.5 total bases, and Bobby Witt higher than 1.5 total bases for a 4.32x multiplier. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you're new to Underdog, use promo code DailyDog for a $250 deposit match bonus. That's it for today. Let's make some money.